Good afternoon, graduates. Good afternoon, families, friends, colleagues, honored guests. It's a joy to be here with you today to celebrate the economics class of 2026. My name is Martin Boileau, and I'm the chair of the Department of Economics. Graduates, you've worked hard for this moment. You've pushed through problem sets, exams, papers. You've earned it. So, before we go any further, let's take a moment to give a big round of applause for our graduates. While we are here to celebrate your achievements, let's be honest, none of us gets here alone. Behind all of you, there's parents, grandparents, siblings, partners, friends who've been with you all the way. So let's give them a big round of applause. I would like to recognize a few people who've made this day possible. And so I'm going to name them, and if they're here, they're going to wave. And once I'm done naming all of them, we can clap, okay? And so I would like to thank Lily Welsh, the Manager of Finance and Business Operations of the department, and Karen Kelly, who is the Graduate Program Coordinator. Yeah, let's do it for them. I want to also thank two staff members who aren't here, Kit Colombo, our undergraduate administrative assistant, and Kimberly Van Morik, our web manager and graphic designer. With us today as well is one of our, I don't know where he is, one of our incredible economic advisors, Jason Oxtad. Jason, where are you?
Oh, wait.
Jason is back there. Let's give him. We have a few other economics advisors for most of our graduates. The team during that period was Will Hamilton, Jason, Andrew Nelson, and Mara Varatian. Lately, both Scott Zeman and Dave Egan have participated and helped us out. So thank you so very much. There's also many student workers and graduate students who've helped us, and there are two of them here today. Carlos there in the back, and Patrick here, so thank you. Oh, and Bicalpa. Bicalpa, where are you? Well, there's Bicalpa also somewhere, I can't see him, so thank you. Okay. Maybe I should, Graduates, my colleagues and I are particularly hopeful about the future because you, our graduate, will help shape it. During your time with us, you've learned to think like economists. You've learned about how to analyze evidence carefully, to interpret data thoughtfully, to understand incentives, and to weigh trade-offs with clarity and discipline. These are valuable tools, and we trust you will use them well. The world you enter faces real challenges, conflict, both the armed kind and the trade kind, climate change, political uncertainty, and rapid technological change, AI. At times, these forces can feel overwhelming, and cynicism can seem like the appropriate, easy response. But a better response is to be hopeful. Hope is not naive optimism. It is the belief that better outcomes are possible and that thoughtful people working with purpose can help create them. Hope inspires action. It leads people to solve problems, build institutions, innovate, and persevere. That spirit should be familiar to you all because economics at its best is grounded in the idea that better choices and better policies can improve lives. Each of you leaves here today with analytical skills, quantitative discipline, and critical thinking. Pair those strengths with hope, Use them not only to build successful lives for yourselves, but to make things better wherever you go. Graduates, we are proud of you, we're excited for you, and we're hopeful for the future you will help build. Congratulations, class of 2026. It is my immense pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker, Professor David Hummels. We could clap, we could clap. Professor Hummels is a distinguished professor of economics at Purdue University, where he teaches international economics. He is also Dean Emeritus of Purdue's Business School, having served as Dean from 2014 to 2023. In Dean speak, that means that he was incredibly successful because he lasted as Dean about twice as long as the average Deans in the United States. He is a world-leading scholar in international trade. His research has examined offshoring, labor markets, trade barriers, and global supply chains. He has published extensively in many of the profession's most respected journals. For us, it means things like the Journal of Political Economy, the Quarterly Journal of Economics, and the American Economic Review. For the rest of you, I can assure you that he also won several teaching awards. Just as important to us today, though, is that Professor Hummels is one of our own. Professor Hummels is a buff. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Colorado Boulder in 1990 before going to earn his PhD at the University of Michigan. Yeah, very successful dude. His career reflects the values we hope to instill in our graduates: intellectual curiosity, analytical rigor, leadership, and a commitment to make institutions stronger. Please join me in welcoming Professor David Hummels.
Thank you, Martin. I've got to say, the Student Rec Center was not nearly this nice when I was in school. We didn't have this view, and so I've been told to keep it interesting or people will start looking out the windows. So thank you, and congratulations to the graduates and to their friends and families. For many of you, it may have seemed like a foregone conclusion that you'd complete this degree. For others, today may represent the culmination of an unlikely dream. Whichever it was, we should recognize that many more students begin college than finish, derailed by challenges of finance or preparation or persistence. And so take a moment to recognize that today is truly meaningful for all the graduates. I am deeply grateful and honored to be standing here today, a proud graduate of this department and this university. I arrived on campus at the dawn of the personal computing revolution in the 1980s, wanting to design and program powerful machines. But then something happened. I took a class from Ruben Zubro in Chem 140, and he introduced me to this idea that there was another way to more powerfully impact the world through economics. I saw through the power of economics and the topics that we studied, the power not to transform machines, but entire societies. Because of the foundations that were built here by my faculty mentors, I have enjoyed a really terrific life as a professional economist, an academic, a consultant, and as Martin said, for about a decade, the dean of the business school at Purdue, what I like to think of as a thriving medium-sized enterprise. What I'd like to do is to reflect with you for a few minutes today on what it is that we all learned as students of economics, how that helped me to succeed, and how I think it will help all of you. As economists, we know that when the supply of some good or service becomes abundant, the price starts to drop, and when the supply is scarce, the price increases. We're at the beginnings of another technological revolution that is going to reshape what is abundant and what is scarce. Generative AI tools are making information abundant, they are making predictions abundant, they are making answers themselves abundant. So if you're in the business of providing information or making predictions or deriving answers, you may find that the returns to these activities are dropping. But what then is scarce and what is valuable? When information becomes cheap, knowing what deserves your attention becomes more valuable. When prediction becomes cheap, knowing what is worth predicting and what to use that prediction for becomes more valuable. When answers are easy to come by, the quality of your questions become the most valuable thing of all. In my life as a professional economist, and especially as dean, I had many opportunities to speak to CEOs of leading companies and other C-suite executives. And what I found in talking to them is that what really matters for strategy and for the success of organizations is paying attention to the right information and asking the right questions. Many people can provide answers to a question that is carefully formulated by someone else. Far fewer people can ask incisive questions that shape the strategic direction of a firm or an organization. I think that economics is particularly well suited to helping its graduates pay attention to the right information and to ask better questions. Why is that? Over the course of taking many classes here at CU, you are probably assigned a lot of problem sets and sat for many exams that ask you to do a calculation or solve a set of equations or shift some curves around and identify a new equilibrium. If you're like a lot of students, undergraduate students, if you're like my undergraduate students, you may have despaired at the times at the level of abstraction and asked, how can this possibly be useful? The world is far more complicated than this. But these exercises ask you to take a very complicated situation and boil it down to something that is manageable and understandable, a model of the world. They ask you to focus your attention on the right information and to use that model to derive predictions of what will happen in different circumstances. They help us to address what-if scenarios about the future, but also it helps us to understand the past, to trace back through the root causes of successes and failures. In my experience, the best thinkers and the best leaders are effective because they simplify, not because they complicate. They strip out messy detail and focus attention on information that really matters. In your classes, you've also been asked to think about how these modeling tools could be useful in answering a lot of different questions. You've been exposed to a lot of different techniques and ways of thinking about problems, and you've probably gotten confused at times about which tools you're supposed to be using for different problems on different exams. What I found in my leadership roles is that I often resort to a set of undergraduate level tools and models to help me understand decisions. When it came to decisions at my school about what new degree offerings we should put in the market, I fell back on the simplest of supply and demand frameworks. Or I would think about the opportunity costs associated with some new activity or an unintended consequence of some policy change. When it came to managing people, which I think is the hardest job of all, I would be often perplexed by their behavior, especially when they resisted what I thought was truly brilliant leadership of my own. At least until I stepped back and I asked myself, what incentives do these people face? What are they trying to optimize and how is it different from what I'm trying to optimize? And that often illustrated to me why they resisted that brilliant leadership and how I could actually get them on board. At the heart of a lot of this is just trying to understand cause and effect in the way economists think about these problems. And I want to argue that that kind of understanding is particularly valuable in this world of generative AI. I've spent a lot of time over the last few years reading and thinking and writing about these rapidly emerging technologies that are everywhere in the news. They're beginning to have some impact on the labor market, though perhaps not as large as some of the more apocalyptic headlines would have you believe. What I'm particularly interested in is what are the capabilities that generative AI has and will have, and how that's different from the capabilities of really intelligent human beings. An important distinction between us is that generative AI does not understand cause and effect the way we do. Computer scientists and cognitive scientists who study this problem call this the world model problem. All humans build abstract models to understand just about everything that they know about the world. We know that dropping an object will cause it to fall. If that object is a rubber ball, it will bounce. If it's a glass, it will break. If we walk on that broken glass, we'll cut our feet. If we don't bandage that cut, we'll bleed all over the rug and maybe get an infection. We start to understand these things by building models of cause and effect as very small children. We learn to track complex relationships over time and space. We know that something doesn't disappear just because it went behind a wall. It hasn't actually vanished from the world. Kids as young as 2 or 3 understand that. We know that a 20-year-old travel guide about a city is probably too out of date to rely on for restaurant recommendations, but a 20-year-old textbook on Shakespeare might still have excellent insights. All of what we call common sense as human beings is modeling, building abstract models of cause and effect. We don't think of it that way because we do that so fast and so subconsciously that it just becomes a natural way of thinking, but it is modeling. When new and generative AI tools struggle or hallucinate or develop or deliver nonsensical answers, much of that is because they lack a grounding in these world models, in a cause and effect understanding of the world. Of course, now that you've been through a course in economics, you've seen how disciplines like economics build even more sophisticated world models that characterize how people behave in different circumstances. And I would argue that mastery of that understanding and those models is more important now than ever before. In early 2022, Zillow, the real estate company, lost close to $1 billion and laid off a quarter of its workforce because its home flipping business led to catastrophic failures. On the surface, the plan seemed very plausible. Use the company's vast data on home prices and a machine learning algorithm to predict which homes offered the greatest opportunity for purchase and resale. Zillow said, if the machine learning algorithm predicts that the home has a greater value than its current sales price, let's buy it, and then try to flip it. Now, for someone with a more sophisticated understanding of pricing, say an economics major who'd paid attention in their industrial organization or their behavioral econ class, they would have immediately recognized this as an example of what we call the winner's curse. The idea is this: suppose a house has a true market value, but bidders at an auction have different beliefs about the value of that house. The bidder who believes the house is worth the most is going to bid the most and win the house. It's only when they try to resell it that they realize the trap. They won the auction precisely because they thought it was more valuable than everybody else did. And that's a huge problem if the whole idea is to flip a low-valued house into a high-valued house. The idea that a deep understanding of causal mechanisms can help us to catch mistakes is particularly important when we try to evaluate whether knowledge offered by some politician or by some podcaster or a large language model is right or it's wrong. Every time one of your professors put a diagram on the board and shifted curves around to try and provide a counterfactual prediction of what would happen, they were giving you practice with choosing and then using different models to understand cause and effect in the world. And so I think you have graduated from this outstanding institution with a set of skills that perhaps uniquely prepare you for the world we're heading into. But your work is not done, because the capabilities that I've been talking about can atrophy, but they can also be wildly expanded by practicing their repeated application in different contexts. How do you do that? I've been carrying notebooks around with me all the time since I was a junior here at CU and following this practice. Every day I write down a few questions that I think are worth asking and answering. They don't have to be especially deep questions. I think the first one I wrote was, why does every coffee shop in town charge exactly the same price for a cafe latte? Are their marginal costs identical? Is this collusion? Like, what's going on? I don't think I actually know the answer to that yet. I'm still working on it. But I try to ask at least one question every day. They could be questions about life, about public policy, about the way people around me are behaving, about the choices that are being made by the firms or institutions that you're working in. Toward the end of the week, find a few of those questions that you think are really compelling and think about how you, as a young economist, would try to answer them. I started these remarks by saying that in a world where information becomes cheap, the quality of your attention becomes valuable. And when answers become cheap, knowing the right questions to ask becomes much, much more valuable. The training I had here and the training you all had here prepares you to ask better questions. Not merely to answer, but to ask better questions. When you have the right quality of attention, when you can ask the right questions, when you can understand and build frameworks that link cause and effect, you can cut to the heart of wicked problems and move us toward the solutions that society needs. It all just takes continuing practice. Graduates, congratulations on your degrees and on being the sort of people who can now ask the questions that really matter. Thank you.
Sorry, I need to think hard here about my next step. Okay, sorry. Alpna, would you come to the podium, please?
Hello and good evening, everyone. The Jacob Van Eyck Scholars Award is one of the College of Arts and Sciences' highest honors, awarded each spring to select undergraduates. It recognizes superior academic achievement alongside outstanding contributions to CU Boulder and the surrounding community through service, work, and volunteering. I had the privilege of nominating the student on behalf of the Department of Economics, and it's my absolute honor to now introduce him as one of this year's recipients of the Jacob Van Eyck Scholars Award. Alexander Schlupp. Known to most of us as Xander, Alexander is graduating senior in economics and international affairs. He carries a perfect 4.0 GPA. He is the captain of the CU swim and dive team. He co-chaired the conference on world affairs this year. He tutors fellow students across multiple econ courses. And he led the revitalization of our econ club this year with one clear purpose. In fact, when I first met Xander, he shared his writing class final project, a presentation devoted entirely to how to make the economics department more student-centered. That vision to make studying economics feel like a community, not just a major, is something Xander firmly believes in. What impresses me most about Xander is not any one single accomplishment of all that. It is the consistency between his values, his actions, and his goals. He leads by doing, and he lifts others as he goes. Please join me in congratulating the Department of Economics' own Jacob Van Eyck Scholar for spring, Alexander Schlupp. Please let me invite Professor McCloskey to introduce the graduate students.
Hi, everyone. My name's Adam McCloskey. I'm in charge of the graduate program this year, and I'm also a buff. I graduated in 2006 as an undergrad. PhD students, can you please come line up over here? Oh, and bring your index cards. Okay, guys, I'm going to announce your names. Please stay on the stage for a group photo. Yeah, okay. Before I do that, I just want to explain a little bit about what a PhD in economics is. I will not do it justice, but pursuing a PhD in economics is a quite formidable undertaking. It takes at least 5 years, usually 6. 2 years of that-ish are coursework, which is very challenging, ends in preliminary exams that are very challenging. It's a very stressful time. Then there are 3 or 4 years of conducting original research at the end of the PhD that produces 3 different papers that hopefully are publishable in journals. So it's not really something for the faint of heart. It requires an extraordinary amount of self-motivation and determination in the face of adversity. So you all should be extremely proud of what you've done here. Okay, I'm going to start, let's. Okay, let's start. So we're going to start with Pan Chen. Please come up. And Pan wrote his dissertation is titled 3 Essays on Environmental and Energy Infrastructure Impacts in China. We'll applaud that. We'll applaud all of them at the end, or now. Okay. Next up is Junsan Huang. He wrote 3 essays on bargaining. Okay. Next is Michael Karras, who wrote Regulating Natural Monopolies, Evidence from the Early American Utility Industry. Okay, next we have Jungwon Ko, who wrote Essays on Trade, Industrial Policy, and Global Value Chains. Okay, next we have Lucas Leidenberger, who wrote 3 essays on macroeconomics and spatial economics. Okay, next up is Sheng Chu, who wrote essays on higher education, higher education's markets and policy reform. Okay, next we have Sheng Chu, who wrote, oh, sorry, no, we just did that. Next we have Mate, sorry, this is my first time. Next we have Mate Surup, who wrote essays on immigration. Okay. Okay, and last but not least is Jisoo Yu, who wrote essays on the human capital formation in adolescence. Okay, now we'll I don't think any of the master's students are here, but I'll explain a little bit about what a master's in economics entails, and I'll list off their names and we'll give them an applause. So a master's in economics, or at least in this department, is the first 2 years of the PhD. So it's also very difficult, requires a ton of work. So let's congratulate the master's students, but they're not here. So I'll list their names. First one is John Gorman, Ailey Jakala, Yuwon Jun, nice, Jehao Jing, Pedro Levy Sayon, Megan Rice, Wunshi Shu, Nejat Yilmaz, Qian Yong. That's it. Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot. I think it's Martin's turn. Let's have our chair back.
Oh. Who lost my place? All right. All right, so it is my great privilege to introduce to you our students who are graduating with Latin honors in economics. A select few of our top students choose to dedicate a substantial portion of their senior year to writing a senior honors thesis. They develop and execute an original research project under the guidance of a faculty advisor, and in the past month, they have each conducted a 1-hour oral defense in front of a faculty committee. We are enormously, you guys can come closer to the stage, come on up. Yeah, we are enormously proud of these students. What they produce is really significant and impressive, often approaching graduate level work. So I'm going to invite each of them up on stage. Please, once you come through and receive your congratulations, stay on stage for the group picture, all right? Where's Annika Angel, cum laude. Mara Baxen, summa cum laude. Libby Chin, magna cum laude. Jared Donahoe, summa cum laude. Ainsley Duffield, magna cum laude. Mac Dugan, cum laude. Camden Faunline, summa cum laude. Tyler Irving, summa cum laude. Sadie Korngold Finkelstein, Stein, magna cum laude. Sorry. Lexa Lindberg, cum laude. James McKenzie, magna cum laude. Rachel Price, magna cum laude. Yeah, don't fall off the stage, please. Okay. Abigail Rhodes, summa cum laude. Patrick Rother, summa cum laude. Annalise Tenwolde, magna cum laude. Christina Traficanti, magna cum laude. We are particularly delighted and grateful that Professor Hummels is here today to help us congratulate the inaugural co-winners of the David and Tanya Hummels Undergraduate Research Award for Outstanding Thesis Research. Let me congratulate our two winners, Grace Anderson, summa cum laude. Jaden Reenan, summa cum laude. I think they're trying to get you to, like, spread out. Should I say it here? Yeah, that's it. Fine, yeah. All right, I'm delighted now to turn things over to Professor Jeffrey Zaks, our Associate Chair for Undergraduate Studies.
This is the 36th class that I've watched graduate from our department. It does not get any easier to say goodbye to you all. It does not get any easier. If there was a way to keep you, I would, but, well, welcome to the Economics Department graduation ceremony for spring of 2025. Congratulations to our graduating class. We celebrate your successful departure from our university. Today may mark the end of your formal education. However, as most of you found out during finals this past week, you still don't know everything. Therefore, learning needs to be a lifelong endeavor. As much as anything, I hope that we've helped you understand how to go about doing that, and perhaps even how to enjoy it. There will certainly be a lot to learn. After you leave here, you're going to have all sorts of new and unfamiliar experiences. Ask questions. Remember to ask questions. When I was your age, and now that I'm my age, the personal and professional interactions that have been least satisfactory have been those where I haven't really understood what was going on, but have decided to pretend that I did. In these situations, it was momentarily seemed more uncomfortable to admit that I was confused than to try to fake my way through whatever was going on. I have chosen to conceal and even protect my ignorance instead of addressing it. I've almost always regretted that choice. As we all know, you can occasionally get away with faking it, but fulfillment requires understanding. When understanding eludes you, try to ask rather than avoid the appropriate questions. We hope that during your time with us, we've taught you something about asking questions effectively. We're going to demonstrate that one last time. As you line up for your parade across the stage, our professors Jennifer Klein and Alexander Colley will inquire graciously as to how to correctly pronounce your name. Please enlighten them so that we may celebrate you appropriately.
Thank you, Professor Zaks, and everybody who spoke earlier for your illuminating words of wisdom. I'm sure we will not forget it anytime soon. And now for the show that we all came here for. It is time for our graduates to walk the stage. But before we do so, I'd like to read these instructions to help the process go swimmingly. Graduates, starting with the front row, please approach the stage and line up as directed by our helpful staff. Somewhere there. When it is your turn, and it's good if you line up coming up the ramp. When it is your turn, please come up to the end of this ramp and I'll approach you to receive your index card with your name pronunciation. It'll also be helpful if we'll have a little brief conference here so I know how to pronounce your names correctly. Once I announce your names, please proceed forward to shake hands with Professor Zaks and receive your diploma cover. And have your picture taken by our professional photographers right here. After that, please proceed crossing the stage where you'll be shaking hands with our other esteemed faculty members. And when you're done shaking hands, please continue your walk all the way behind the audience. In there will have another professional picture taking of you. After that, please return to your seat so we can continue celebrating everyone. The next set of instructions are actually for friends and family members. Let's be loud, let's be happy, let's clap, let's celebrate our graduates. And let's celebrate everyone. And what I mean by that, please do not leave until the very last graduate has walked this stage. That way, every student, regardless whether they walk first or last, gets the full recognition that they deserve. Okay, and without any further ado, I'd like to introduce. Come up. Actually, I apologize. One ado.
What's in there?
It's just water, I promise. Okay, it is a personal announcement, in fact. My wife, Mana, who's actually here in the audience, and I, yesterday, for the first time, have seen the heartbeat of our first-to-be child. It is a wonderful sight, and I hope one of these days he or she will walk a similar stage. But now, promise, without further ado, Mariette Blanco Rodriguez. Jared Donahoe. Mara Baxon. Anthony Albarelli. Annie Ezel. Rachel Price. Sadie Korngold Finkenstein. Abigail Rhodes. Patrick Rother. Jaden Renan. Lexa Lemberg. NC Duffield. James McKenzie. Mac Dugan. Libby Chen. Tyler Irving. Camden Famline. Annika Angel. Annalise Tenvolda. Christina Traficante. Grace Anderson. Gavin Townsend. Luke Borrier. Rylan Thomas. Brennan Smith. Liam Elliott. Nicholas William Benison. Walker McIntyre. Julian Schaffner. Nicholas Post. Anna Nedalku Erickson. Olivia Van Wagenen. Lasine Kuyate. Paxton Presley. Semi Azam. Michael Vasquez. Colin Reed. Maximus Martellero. Welges. Alexander Schulp. Aiden Anderson. Joseph Magliocetti.
Patrick Finan. Patrick O to D. Patrick Finan. Finan.
Patrick Finan.
Okay.
Tobias Schmalz. Ian Johnson. Milo Hugo. Liam Hartman. Benjamin Wilson. Armand Sharma. Brody Henze. Ryan Squeezak. Nolan Kim. John Duda. Rose Patchen. Sean Eichhorn.
Miller.
Ben Reinhardt.
Congratulations. Owen Cap.
Owen Kaplan. Jack Dratch. Ian Javer. Kento Mita. Nate Strong. Aya Ben Belkacem. Annabelle Flisk. Deacon Sturk.
Hey, how are you? Jack, good. How are you? Good.
Jack Reese.
Congratulations. Diego Garcia Gallo. Okay.
Diego Garcia Gallo. Kiera Foley. Gwyneth Baumgartner. Benjamin Kiley. Alexander Haas. Thomas Odell. Aryan Gouda. Bobby Rowland.
Bobby Rowland, you know who that is. Oh, what a nice meeting. Thank you. We had a great experience. We had a great show together. Thank you.
Christopher Guyvan.
Congratulations.
Luisiana Isabella Robles. Catherine Zimmerman. Martina Shrestha. Karina Schell. Anaí Alvarez. Bianca Popescu. Brady Carroll. Jacob Niddle. Yair Loya. Joshua Contreras Martinez. Eva Graven. Luke Giammi. Ryan Hocker. Audrey Deck. Dylan Kahn. Ethan Green. Mina Rapp. Juliana Palacios. Morgan Shaw. Mohammed Taha. Matt Maximus Marco. Jorge De La Rosa. Mallory Lick. Isabella Romano. Santiago Ruiz. Nara Al-Zahrani. Coyote West.
Alec Big Al Beckley. Okay. Alec Big Al Beckley.
Alec Big Al Beckley. Nicholas Armatas.
Birchler Rosing.
Charles Birchler Rosens. Chen Zhang. Richard Hardart. John Wilsey. Ethan Van Us. Alfredo Canavati. Andrew Elliott. Thank you, and I will pass the microphone to Professor Klein.
Much shorter. Jay Cavathia. Evan Romkey. Cameron Chen. Matilde Lewis. Sasha Angel.
It's gray like the color.
Gray.
Gray.
Gray Waxman. Hadley Bayless. Anna Robbins. Tiger Campese. Tiger Campese. Anthony Pesci. Sam Colwyn. Justin Nadrich.
see you again.
Jack Lambeth. Greta Young. Adeline Quiros. Michelle Vasquez Ortiz. Lauren Razumalski. Josephine McGinty. Josephine McGinty. Greta Maddox. Grace, sorry. Grace Maddox.
Kayla Turrets.
Turrets.
Yes.
Okay. Kayla Turrets. Evan Hayes. John Colton. Aiden Bertolotti.
Yep, that's it.
Aiden Bertolotti. Sam Douglas. Sam Douglas. Eli Feingold. Eli Feingold. Emma Pearlstein. Yes. Emma Pearlstein. Alexander Harris. Tilda Bangman. Angelin Santier. Angelin Santier. Angelin Santier. Joey Croft. Joey Croft. Hollitzer. Jack Hollitzer. Jack Wheeler. Jack Wheeler.
Gerardo Antonio Garcia.
Gerardo Antonio Garcia.
Yep.
Gerardo Antonio Garcia. Right. Joshua Stewart. Max Merkel. Mackay Reynolds. Ronnie Ronnie Tekla Michael. Muhammad Osman Muhammad. Muhammad Osman Muhammad. Jovan Dotson. Rami. Faisal Al-Mashan. Cole Dondonville. Kellen Keefe. Kellen Keefe. Jack Raymond. Oliver Ernest Jones. Oliver Ernest Jones. Paul Jerome Tosi. Paul Jerome Tosi. Owen Christopher Erdman. Antoine Hillenmeyer. Antoine Hillenmeyer. Matthew Leckie. Harrison Flynn. Max Moss. Nathan Selesky. Esteban Urbina. Esteban Urbina. Nathan Feldman. Yes. Nathan Feldman. Mario Pepper. Mario Pepper. Mubarak Agak. Mubarak Agak. Ashley Thomas. Yep. Pretty simple. Ashley Thomas. Anderson Lormer. Yep. Anderson Lormer. Robert Beller. Preston Lux. Yusuf Utribi. Okay, Yusuf Utribi. Yusuf Utribi. Vade Shankaran. Griffin Terry. Griffin Terry. Madison Chu. How are you? Madison. Madison Chu. Graciela Horstman. Alec Burnson. Alec Burnson. Yeah. Tallulah Torres. Hi. I'm happy.
happy. I'm really happy. Tallulah Torres. Iris Hauk. I don't think I actually know how to say it. Iris Hauk. Remy Stromberg.
Tilly Parker.
Tilly Parker.
Yeah, perfect.
Tilly Parker. Margot Bushala. Bushala.
Yes, Margaret Michelle.
Margot Bushala.
Yeah, you got it.
Margot Bushala. Nicholas Furtado. Nicholas Furtado. Carson. Carson Howright. Elrod. Sorry. Do you not have your card? Okay. He does not have a card. It's okay? Okay. Okay. Carson Elrod. Christopher Gael Serrano. Christopher Gael Serrano. Antonio Pimentel. Antonio Pimentel. Miriam Alrumi. Hind Algamdi. Abdul Aziz Farouki. Abdul Aziz Farouki. Last and very much not least, Abdul Aziz Farouki.
I think we need to tell the faculty to come sit down.
Yeah,
Hey,
they need to.
Yeah. Oh, I see. They were waiting for the last guy to get there.
So Professor Boileau is about to come to the podium to try to fill time while we're waiting for the last of the students to make their way back to their seats. Before he does that, I'd like to mention that Professor Boileau has presided over 4 department commencements during his term as chair, and as he is now stepping down and returning to regular faculty life, I'd like to invite everyone to join the faculty in thanking Professor Boileau for his devoted stewardship of the department these last 4 years.
I did not expect that, so thank you. Okay, so before, as students are re-entering, I would like to introduce the faculty. I did not introduce the faculty earlier, so I'm going to call on my faculty to introduce them to you. So we're going to start in the back there. Professor Sergei Nigai. Professor Geronimo Carballo. Professor Alessandro Perry, Professor Altna Batia, Professor Sarah Avila, Professor John Hughes, Professor Jeff Zaks, Professor Jennifer Klein, Professor Alex Colley, Professor Adam McCloskey, Professor Brian Cadena, Professor Francisca Atman, Professor Jinyuk Kim, Professor Scott Savage, Professor Mark Balcosi, and the incoming chair of the Economics Department, Professor Tara McInnish. Wow. Okay. And now our celebration together draws to a close. I would like to remind everyone that you are warmly invited to join us in the post-ceremony reception that's going to be in the back. We have until 7. We have the room until 7. After that, they're going to kick us out. To parents and families and friends here today, thank you for the support, encouragement, and sacrifice that helped bring our graduate to this moment. We, the faculty, are super grateful for the trust you placed in us in educating your graduates. So thank you so much. To our graduates, congratulations. Earning this degree required talents, discipline, resilience, and perseverance. It is an achievement for which you should be deeply proud. At the same time, remember to be grateful. Grateful for those who supported you. Grateful for the opportunities you've received. Grateful for the doors that this education will open before you. As graduates of the University of Colorado, you will always be part of this university community, and this university will always be part of you. Continue to make us proud. Go Buff!